Overwhelmed by his frustration, he lashed out at her. "I have warned you about eating this much. I hate fat women and I can't bear it if you continue eating like an animal. Just look at you. This was not what I married." Once upon a time, in a lovely little village, nestled in the lush green hills of eastern Nigeria, there lived two inseparable friends named Oba and Eze. These two young men had been the best of friends since they were little boys, sharing every adventure and every challenge that came their way. What made their bond even more special was that both Oba and Eze were orphans. They had lost their parents when they were very young and had learned early on to rely on each other for support and companionship. Oba and Eze were known throughout the village for their kindness and their hard work. Despite the early hardship of losing their families, they never gave up. Instead, they worked even harder to make their mark. The villagers admired them, not just for their resilience, but also for their dedication to their work. Eze had a deep love for the earth and grew bountiful crops as a farmer. He was always up at the crack of dawn, tending to his fields with a joyful whistle on his lips. His farm was a patchwork of vibrant greens and yellows, stretching as far as the eye could see. Oba, on the other hand, was a master fisherman. His days were spent on the sparkling waters of the nearby river, casting his nets with a skill that seemed almost magical. The fish he caught were always the biggest and the freshest, which he would proudly bring back to the village market. His boat was his prized possession, and he cared for it as lovingly as he would a treasure. Together, Oba and Eze made a perfect team. Their friendship was a beacon of hope and joy in the village. They helped each other in their work, with Eze often providing Oba with some of his harvests to take to the market, and Oba sharing his catch to add a savory treat to Eze's table. This cooperation between them only made the villagers respect and love them even more. As time passed in the beautiful village where Oba and Eze lived, many seasons came and went, each one full of life and new growth. Eze, watching his farm flourish under his diligent care, decided that it was the perfect time to start a family on his own. His fields were abundant with crops, and he felt a longing to share his life's joy and success with someone special. Oba, ever the supportive friend, was thrilled when Eze shared his plans with him. He knew that Eze would make a wonderful husband and father, just as he was an excellent farmer. Eze soon married a lovely maiden from their village known for her kindness and beauty. Together, they welcomed two boys, Chike and Nonso, into their family. The boys were the pride of their parents, bringing laughter and joy into their home. Oba, though still unmarried at the time, was overjoyed for his friend and embraced his role as an honorary uncle to the boys. Their friendship remained strong and unshaken, even as their lives took on different new roles and responsibilities. 5 years after Eze's marriage, it was Oba's turn to find happiness in love. He married a beautiful woman whose beauty was talked about across the village. She had eyes that sparkled like stars in the night sky, and her skin was as smooth and soft as the finest silk. Not long after, they were blessed with a baby girl. This little girl was so breathtakingly beautiful that everyone who saw her marveled at her loveliness. Her parents had both secretly hoped for a daughter as their first child. They were filled with immense joy. They decided to name her Ola, which means my precious jewel. Ola was indeed a precious jewel to her parents, a symbol of their love and happiness, a perfect blend of her father's strength and her mother's grace. The entire village celebrated her birth, and she grew up surrounded by love and admiration from all who knew her. As Ola grew up in a vibrant and close-knit village, she was enveloped in a world of love and admiration. From the moment she opened her eyes each morning to the time she closed them at night, she was cherished deeply by those around her. The villagers, her family and friends, formed a protective and affectionate circle around her, making her feel special every day. Her parents, filled with boundless love and pride, nurtured her with constant care and attention. They taught her the values of kindness, respect, and generosity, which she embraced wholeheartedly. Ola's bond with her family was a source of great joy for her, especially her relationship with Chike and Nonso, Eze's sons, who treated her like their beloved little sister. The boys were protective of her, always making sure she was happy and safe. They played games with her, shared stories, and included her in all their adventures, which made Ola very fond of them. As Ola blossomed into a kind and respectful young lady, her presence in the village became a beacon of light. Her willingness to help others, whether by assisting her mother with household chores or accompanying her father to the bustling village markets, made her well loved and respected by all. Her kindness radiated, touching the hearts of everyone she met, and her bright smile and gentle nature drew people to her. Whenever Ola visited Eze's home, Eze would look upon her with immense fondness and a twinkle in his eyes. He adored Ola and often teased her affectionately, calling her my son's wife, which always brought laughter and blushes from Ola. Eze harbored a hope, perhaps half in jest, that someday one of his sons might be lucky enough to marry Ola. He saw in her not just the outer beauty admired by all, but a deep goodness and a loving heart, qualities he valued highly and dreamed of seeing joined with his family. Ola was known throughout the village for her breathtaking beauty, a kind of beauty that seemed to cast a spell on everyone who laid eyes on her. Every man in the village dreamed of one day making her his bride. However, Chike and Nonso, the sons of Eze, were always by her side. Their constant presence made other suitors hesitant and a bit intimidated to approach her, leaving them only to admire her from afar. Chike, the elder of Eze's son, had harbored feelings for Ola since they were children. As they grew up, his affection only deepened. Yet, he kept his feelings hidden, worried about how his parents might react and uncertain of how Ola might feel about him. Despite his deep love, Chike remained silent, holding onto the hope that he might one day reveal his true feelings to her. In contrast to Chike's reserved nature, Nonso was outgoing and always up for adventure, and he and Ola were inseparable. They spent countless hours together, often going on boating trips or fishing in the river. Their friendship was filled with laughter and shared secrets, and to anyone watching they seemed like the best of friends, perfectly at ease with each other. From a distance, Chike often observed them, a sense of sadness sometimes washing over him. He could see how close Nonso and Ola were, and he secretly wished that Ola could look into his heart and see the deep love he held for her. One sunny day, while the brothers were working hard on their farm, the heat from the sun grew intense, prompting them to seek refuge under a large tree. Seizing the moment, Chike decided to confront the question that had been weighing on his heart. He turned to Nonso and asked, "Nonso, do you love Ola? What plans do you have for her?" Nonso was taken aback by the sudden question. He hadn't expected such a direct conversation about feelings. But after a brief moment of shock and silence, he answered honestly, "I love her. She's so beautiful and I hope to marry her. We also understand each other so well." Hearing this, Chike's heart shattered. He had always hoped that Nonso just saw Ola as a friend and sister, not a future wife. Every day, he had dreamed of being the one to marry Ola, waiting for just the right moment to express his feelings. Realizing that he might have missed his chance, Chike felt a surge of heartbreak. Unable to contain his emotions, he stood up abruptly and stormed off the farm, leaving a confused Nonso behind, who couldn't understand what had upset his brother so deeply. Ola had a special place in her heart for Nonso. She cherished her friendship with Chike, who looked after her like a big brother, always caring and protective. But it was Nonso who truly understood how to light up her world. He was her soulmate, the one who could make her burst into laughter with just a word or a playful gesture. Being with Nonso was like being in a constant bubble of laughter and joy, and Ola enjoyed every minute of it. Chike, observing the happiness that Nonso brought into Ola's life, felt a mix of joy and a deep aching sadness. He too had feelings for Ola, but seeing her smile so freely with Nonso made him realize that her happiness was more important than his own desires. It was a tough, painful decision, but Chike chose to step aside. He decided that he would rather see Ola happy with Nonso than pursue his own feelings at the cost of her joy. Soon after, Nonso proposed to Ola in a beautiful, heartfelt moment, and she joyfully accepted. The news of their engagement brought great celebration among both families and the entire village. Everyone was thrilled at the union, which would strengthen the bond between the two families who had long been friends. The night before their wedding, a bundle of emotions, Chike called Nonso aside. They sat under the stars sharing a keg of palm wine, a symbol of their brotherhood and the deep talks they often had. With a heavy heart, Chike opened up to his brother. "You know, Ola has always been like a sister to us, and we both love her dearly," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "If you hadn't asked her to marry you, I would have been the one to do so. But you are my brother, and seeing you happy is my happiness too. I'm asking you, as both her future husband and as the brother she has always had, please take good care of Ola. She's the only sister we've ever known, and I couldn't bear it if she were unhappy." As Chike spoke those words, his heart shattered into pieces. He knew it was important for Nonso to understand the depth of his feelings. Nonso listened in silence, taking in every word with growing respect and a bit of shock. He hadn't realized Chike's feelings were so deep. He felt a profound gratitude that Chike had chosen to share this with him, and he gave his brother his solemn promise. I will take care of Ola, not just as my wife, but as the precious sister we both cherish. This promise sealed a new understanding between the brothers, binding them even closer through their shared love for Ola. On her wedding day, Ola was a vision to behold, radiant and glowing with happiness. Her smile lit up the entire place, and every time she smiled, it seemed to brighten the day even more. As Nonso watched her walk towards him, his heart skipped a beat with overwhelming joy. Today, he was marrying not just the love of his life, but his very best friend, and the thought filled him with immense happiness. As part of the village's cherished traditions, Ola gracefully knelt down and offered Nonso a cup of palm wine, symbolizing respect and love, just as their culture had taught them. Nonso accepted the cup with a proud and joyful smile. Their eyes locked in a moment of deep connection. With that simple act, their lives were intertwined forever. The crowd around them burst into cheers and jubilation, dancing and celebrating the union of two beloved souls. The air was charged with happiness, and the sound of celebration echoed far and wide. Chike, amidst the joy and dancing, felt a pang in his heart as he watched the celebrations. He kept his emotions tightly reined in, managing a smile as he observed the beautiful ceremony. Although it was tough to see the woman he had quietly loved marrying his brother, he genuinely wished them all the happiness in the world. As he stood there, he clung to the hope that someday he too would find someone to love with all his heart, someone who would bring him the same joy he saw on his brother and Ola's faces that day. With a deep breath, Chike shared louder, his voice mingling with the joyful sounds around him, and whispered a silent wish for his brother and new sister-in-law's happiness. He hoped that one day he would also embrace a love so profound and find the happiness that now lit up his brother's life. Nonso and Ola initially experienced great happiness in their marriage. Their love story was celebrated throughout the village, and everyone spoke highly of the joyous couple. Their parents too were filled with pride and happiness, seeing their children settled and in love. Ola was an only child and had been raised with great care and love, which she now poured into her marriage. She respected and cherished Nonso deeply, and he, in return, loved her. Their home was a haven of joy and laughter, a true embodiment of their love. However, their blissful life began to change when Ola became pregnant. At first, the news of the pregnancy brought them immense joy. They dreamed of their future together as parents, filled with excitement and anticipation. But as the months passed and Ola's body began to change with the pregnancy, so too did Nonso's attitude towards her. Nonso had always admired Ola's beauty and her slender figure, features that initially attracted him to her as they both grew up together. As Ola's pregnancy progressed, and she naturally gained weight, Nonso found himself struggling with feelings he hadn't anticipated. He became easily irritated, and the smallest things seemed to set him off. One evening, Nonso returned from work to find Ola eating a big plate of fufu. The sight unexpectedly triggered a harsh reaction from him. Overwhelmed by his frustration, he lashed out at her. "I have warned you about eating this much. I hate fat women and I can't bear it if you continue eating like an animal. Just look at you. This was not what I married." With that, He stormed out of the house, leaving Ola in shock and heartbreak. Ola sat there, hot as tears began to roll down her cheeks. She had always believed that their love was strong and unbreakable and that nothing could ever come between them. The harsh words from Nonso cut deep, making her question the very foundation of their relationship. She felt betrayed and alone, a stark contrast to the loving partnership they had enjoyed. As she tried to comprehend Nonso's harsh reaction, Ola's heart ached. The man she loved, the man she married, seemed like a stranger now. His words echoed in her mind, filling her with sadness and doubt. She had thought their love would withstand any challenge, but his reaction to her pregnancy revealed a side of Nonso she had never seen before. The joy of their expected child was now overshadowed by pain and uncertainty. Ola's appetite vanished as she pondered her next step. She needed to understand why Nonso was acting this way and whether their love could survive this unexpected strain. As time passed, Ola's situation grew increasingly difficult. She had chosen not to tell her family about the troubles she was facing, clinging to the hope that Nonso was just going through a temporary phase and that things would return to normal. But as days turned into weeks, Nonso's behavior only worsened. He became distant and cold, no longer showing her the affection they once shared. Nonso would stay out late into the night and come home intoxicated, his mood dark and violent. When he spoke to Ola, his words were cruel and hurtful. He would call her names like fat fool. It was a side of Nonso she had never imagined she would see. The loving husband she remembered seemed to have disappeared completely. Ola was heartbroken. Alone in their home, she would often sit and cry, overwhelmed by the changes in her life and the man she loved. She tried repeatedly to explain to Nonso that it was natural for her body to change during pregnancy, but her words fell on deaf ears. He continued to mock and talk down on her at every given opportunity, and their relationship, once full of love and happiness, had turned bitter and filled with pain. Their daughter's birth should have been a joyous occasion, and indeed, both families came together to celebrate the beautiful new life. Nonso put on a facade of happiness, not wanting anyone to suspect that anything was wrong. During the weeks that Ola's mother stayed with them to help with the new baby, Nonso behaved as if everything was fine, masking the truth of their strained relationship. However, once her mother left, Nonso's pretense fell away, and his cruel behavior returned with even greater intensity. He became neglectful and harsh, not even caring that Ola was struggling to recover from childbirth and trying to breastfeed their daughter. He neglected her needs, sometimes even withholding food, and lived as if he had no responsibilities at home. When Ola tried to confront him about his actions, he would lash out and beat her up violently, yelling, "How dare you question me, you fat idiot!" He even threatened to leave her if she doesn't lose weight. Every day brought new tears for Ola. She felt utterly alone, no one to turn to for help or even comfort. The man she had once loved so deeply had become a source of fear and pain, leaving her isolated in her suffering. Ola was trapped in a circle of despair, unsure of how to find a way out or whom she could trust to share her burden of her troubled marriage. Ola felt unable to confide in her mother about her struggles, fearing that it would cause unnecessary worry. She bore her troubles alone, hoping for a resolution that seemed increasingly distant. After his brother's marriage, Chike had moved into the city to put some distance between himself and his unrequited love, seeking the space he needed to heal from his heartbreak. In the city, he started a new business, which fortunately thrived, bringing him a measure of peace and success. When he learned that Ola had given birth, he decided it was time to visit, hoping to reconnect with his brother and meet his new niece. Chike arrived at Nonso and Ola's home when Nonso was not there, giving him a chance to speak with Ola alone. He was surprised to see that Ola had gained weight, a change he had not expected. Despite this, she remained beautiful in his eyes. However, what struck him more deeply was the evident sadness in her eyes, a stark contrast to the joyful Ola he remembered. "What's wrong?" Chike asked immediately, concern coloring his voice as he took a seat. Seeing Chike's genuine worry, Ola could no longer hold back her emotions. Tears streamed down her face as she poured out everything that had been happening to her, the pain and emotional abuse she had been enduring at the hands of Nonso. Chike listened, his heart pounding with shock and anger. He had always seen the love Ola and Nonso shared as something pure and strong, and it was hard to believe that their marriage had soured so drastically in just 2 years. "Are you telling the truth?" Chike asked, needing to hear it again. Ola nodded, her tears not ceasing. Filled with rage at the injustice his sister-in-law was suffering, Chike was still processing this when Nonso stumbled into the house clearly drunk. Without hesitation and driven by his fury, Chike confronted Nonso physically, overwhelmed by a desire to protect Ola. The brothers scuffled fiercely, with Chike overpowering Nonso easily, each punch fueled by his anger and the betrayal he felt on behalf of Ola. Ola, terrified that Chike might seriously harm Nonso, screamed for help, her voice filled with panic. Her cries pierced the tumult, reaching Chike's conscious cooling rage. Seeing Nonso writhing in pain on the floor, Chike roared, "I warned you. If you ever hurt her again, I swear I will come back and you will regret it. Never lay your filthy hands on her or speak abusive words to her again. I never knew you could be so heartless." Shaken by the intensity of the confrontation and unable to bear Nonso's presence any longer, Chike stormed out of the house and drove straight to his parents' home to inform them of their situation and seek their counsel on what could be done to ensure Ola's safety and well-being. When Chike revealed the troubles between Ola and Nonso to Eze and his wife, they were deeply saddened and shocked. They had no idea about the struggles Ola had been facing, as she had never spoken to them about her marital issues. "I always knew Nonso could be aggressive and immature, but I thought his love for her was genuine," Eze expressed, his voice heavy with disappointment and hurt. "We must address this immediately. I can't let this situation damage the long-standing relationship between our families." Eze wasted no time and called for an urgent family meeting. When everyone gathered, he looked at Nonso with a mix of anger and concern. "What has gotten into you, Nonso?" he demanded, the disappointment clear in his tone. Nonso, feeling the weight of his father's words and the stern looks from the family, was overwhelmed with shame. "I want you to explain yourself," Eze pressed on, urging Nonso to speak. After a pause, Nonso finally spoke. "She was gaining weight, and I didn't like it. I married her because I loved her slender stature. But when she got pregnant, she started eating more and kept getting bigger and bigger. I just couldn't stand it. Hearing this, tears began streaming down Ola's face, and Chike had to hold back his anger, fighting the urge to confront Nonto physically again. Eze's wife then took the floor, her voice stern yet full of wisdom. Not all women are able to retain their figures after childbirth. Women endure a lot, and it is unrealistic to expect them to look the same as before. Ola is still beautiful, and she's a good woman. She deserves a better treatment. For heaven's sake, Nonto, she just bore your child. You should be treating her with so much love and respect. It seems you were only captivated by her looks and never really understood her. True love goes beyond physical appearance. It's about seeing and appreciating your partner from within. That's what sustains a relationship when external beauty fades. Eze nodded in agreement with his wife's word and turned to Nonto. Your mother is right. You can and should do better. Following the family meeting, Nonto's physical abuse stopped, and he started giving Ola the silent treatment. He barely spoke to her and avoided any physical contact, often leaving the house for long hours. Feeling increasingly isolated and alone in raising their child, Ola found herself crying endlessly, unable to bear the loneliness and emotional neglect. When she reached her breaking point, her mother-in-law advised her to return to her parents' home until Nonto came to his senses, a realization that heartbreakingly never came. Ola's parents welcomed her and her child with open arms, saddened by the pain but supportive. Despite Nonto's actions, Eze and Oba maintained their friendship, recognizing that Nonto's failings were his own and not reflective of his family's values. Not long after Ola left, Nonto remarried, revealing that he had likely been seeking an opportunity to start anew for some time. Ola's family, seeing that Nonto had remarried, returned Ola's bride price. This was a traditional way of showing that the girl was now free to marry again. Ola was devastated. Nonto had been her childhood friend, and the thought that he could discard their shared histories and memories so easily was crushing. She realized painfully that Nonto had never truly understood what love meant, having been fixated only on her physical beauty. This realization broke her down even more, as she grappled with the fact that the man she loved had been so shallow. Life in the village became unbearable for Ola. Everywhere she went, she couldn't escape the pain of seeing her estranged husband with another woman. The whispers and gossips of the village women made her feel like she was constantly being watched and judged. Determined to find a fresh start and a better life for herself and her daughter, Ola decided to move to the city and pursue her passion for tailoring, a skill she had mastered over the years. Her parents, always her biggest supporters, backed her decision wholeheartedly. They provided her with the funds she needed to set up her new life and sent her off with prayers for success and happiness. Ola's mother, with tears in her eyes, hugged her daughter tightly, whispering hopeful blessings that the city would bring her the peace and joy she deserved. Once Ola settled in the city, Ola quickly established her tailoring business. She found joy in her work, and it wasn't long before she started gaining a reputation for her skilled craftsmanship. As her business flourished, Ola began to regain her confidence. She started losing the weight she had gained during her troubled marriage, and her smile returned, brighter than ever. Both she and her daughter rediscovered happiness, enjoying their new life free from the shadows of the past. One rainy evening, after a long day at her shop, Ola and her daughter found themselves stranded at a bus stop. The sky was darkening rapidly, and her daughter, tired and upset, began to cry. Ola held her close, trying to shelter her from the rain, praying for a miracle to get them home quickly. Just then, a car pulled up in front of them. Chike, who had moved to the same city, had occasionally noticed someone familiar in that area, but he hadn't realized it was Ola. He hadn't seen her since she moved and was unaware that she was now living in the city. As he drove past the bus stop that day, he saw a woman and her child, and something made him take a closer look. To his surprise, it was Ola. Overjoyed and relieved to see a familiar face, Ola greeted Chike with a warm smile. Chike's eyes swept all over Ola. She looked so different and had slimmed down a lot, unlike when he last saw her. He offered to drive them home, and during the ride, they caught up on everything that had happened in their lives over the past few years. She explained how she had started her own tailoring business, which was now doing well, but admitted that she had felt quite lonely in the big city. Chike listened intently, his heart going out to Ola and her daughter. He was saddened to hear about the dissolution of her marriage, but relieved that she was out of a bad situation, impressed by her resilience and success. When they arrived at Ola's house, Chike promised to visit them over the weekend, wanting to stay in touch and continue offering his support. As he drove away, he felt a renewed connection to Ola, admiring her strength and determination to rebuild her life for the better. Back in the village, Nonto's life was far from peaceful. After Ola left, he had married a woman named Uju, who turned out to be very aggressive and confrontational. Nonto and Uju were both strong-willed and often clashed with each other. Their energies matched. Their home was filled with shouting, fighting, and arguments that lasted from sunrise to sunset. Whenever Nonto came home late, the situation escalated even more, turning their house into a battleground. Nonto's relationship with his parents hadn't improved either. They were still upset with him for how he had treated Ola, and because of this, he felt he couldn't turn to them for help or support. His new life with Uju was chaotic and stressful. Unlike Ola, Uju hadn't had any children yet, but she made Nonto's life very miserable. As the days went by, Nonto started to feel the weight of his choices. He began to see how different his life with Uju was compared to how it had been with Ola. The constant fights and the tense atmosphere at home made him realize what he had lost. Living with Uju was tough, and it made him miss the peace and love that he had taken for granted with Ola. Slowly, Nonto started to regret his actions and the mistakes he had made, wishing he had appreciated Ola more when they were together. Meanwhile, Ola and Chike found themselves reconnecting and deepening their friendship in the city. After his busy days at work, Chike often drove to Ola's shop to pick her up and take her and her daughter Mma home. Mma quickly won Chike's heart. She was a little version of her mother, both in looks and spirit, and he cherished the moments he spent playing and laughing with them. As the days turned into weeks, Ola and Chike's bond grew stronger. They started spending more time together, enjoying outings that felt like dates, even though they never labeled them as such. Laughter became a common sound in their interactions, filling the spaces around them with warmth and joy. Ola was unaware that Chike had harbored feelings for her all these years, and for Chike, seeing Ola again reignited those old flames just when he thought he had moved past them. Yet, he couldn't shake off a lingering concern. One day, feeling the need for some guidance, Chike decided to visit his village to talk with his father. His parents were sitting outside their hut when he arrived, and their faces lit up with joy at the sight of him. It had been a long time since their last meeting, and they spent hours catching up. During their conversation, his mother mentioned Nonso and his new wife Uju. He hasn't visited us, but we've heard that the girl he married is really giving him a hard time. He married Uju, you know, that beautiful girl, the daughter of Okori. That girl is known for her fiery temper and fights fiercely. I'm sure Nonso is too ashamed to come and see us, she explained. Although Chike was still upset with Nonso for his treatment of Ola, he couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for his brother. Later that night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Chike opened up to his father. Papa, I need your advice for a friend, he began cautiously. He's fallen in love with a woman who was once married to his brother. He's confused and doesn't know what to do. Eze chuckled, seeing through Chike's story. He knew his son was talking about himself, but decided to play along. Is this brother of his remarried? He asked. Yes, Chike nodded. Then, I think the woman is free to marry again. If he loves her that much, he should marry her, Eze advised. Then, with a twinkle in his eyes, he added, By the way, enough about your friend. When are you getting married? Chike laughed, appreciating his father's light-hearted approach. Soon, Papa, he promised. They continued to talk late into the night, sharing stories and advice until they were too tired to stay awake and retired to their beds, each comforted by the other's presence. When Chike returned to the city, filled with newfound confidence and certainty about his feelings, he decided it was time to take a significant step forward with Ola. He invited her out to a quiet, intimate place where they could talk privately. There, he opened his heart to her, sharing his deep feelings that had started in their childhood and how they had persisted over the years. He also confided in her about the pain he felt seeing her with Nonso and how his love had never waned despite the circumstances. Ola was taken aback by Chike's revelation. She had always known that Chike cared deeply for her and her daughter, but she hadn't realized the depth of his feelings, that he was truly in love with her. Chike's demeanor had always been a stark contrast to Nonso. He was calm and thoughtful, and he had a gentle way about him that always made her feel safe and valued. She remembered how he defended her when Nonso was unkind and how he had always been there, a steady presence of support and kindness. Seeing how genuine Chike's feelings were, and recalling all the moments they had shared together, Ola accepted his proposal. It wasn't just his words that convinced her, but his consistent love and respect he had shown her and her daughter. As their relationship grew stronger, Chike proposed marriage, and Ola, overwhelmed with emotion, said yes through tears of joy. She hugged him tightly, knowing in her heart that this was true love, one that saw beyond appearances to the essence of her soul. The news of their engagement was a surprise to both families. While Eze had his suspicions due to his conversation with Chike, the rest were taken aback but pleased. Ola's family, seeing the genuine affection and respect Chike showed towards Ola, readily gave their blessing. They all appreciated that Chike was a man just like his father, honorable, kind, and loving. The couple held a small traditional marriage ceremony in the village to honor their roots, followed by plans for a grand wedding celebration in the city. On their wedding day, Chike's heart overflowed with happiness, grateful for the chance to spend his life with Ola, the woman he had always loved. Chike treated Ola like a queen, cherishing her every day. Felt a happiness with Chike that she had never experienced before. His love transformed her world, making her feel treasured and respected. Ola reveled in the security and affection Chike provided, knowing she now lived the life she truly deserved, a life filled with love, respect and joy. Since Ola left, Nonso's life turned upside down. Everything seemed to go wrong and he couldn't find happiness or success in anything he did. When he heard that his own brother Chike had married Ola, it felt like a punch to his heart. Ola had been such a good woman and a true source of peace and happiness in his life, but he had let her go over trivial things that he thought were important at that time. Nonso realized too late that he had made a huge mistake. He had traded his happiness for pride and petty concerns, losing Ola forever to his kinder, gentler brother. This realization filled him with regret, and he knew he had to live with the consequences of his actions. Now stuck in an unhappy marriage, he often thought about the calm and loving life he could have had with Ola. Meanwhile, Chike and Ola were building a beautiful life together in the city. They were blessed with more children, each adding joy and laughter to the family. Their love for each other stayed strong and vibrant, renewing with each passing day. Chike had promised to love her, whether she was fat or thin, ugly or beautiful. He pledged his undying love to her. They truly lived happily, surrounded by the love and warmth of their growing family, cherishing each moment and grateful for the life they shared. Hey besties, we've come to the end of this beautiful story, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. I would like you to share your lessons in the comment sections so that others can learn from it. And if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please do not skip this video without hitting the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories. And thank you so much for your support and your love. Right now, I have to go and see you in our next story. Bye!